no questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you, and I want you back so bad.
And as we sit here tonight, investigators not expecting a safe return because, again, they've charged Barry Morphew with the murder. Sloan Dickey, a reporter from our great affiliate KMGH, was at the press conference today and has more for us tonight.
The big news conveyed from the press conference here in Chaffee County is that this is no longer a missing person investigation for the search for Suzanne Morphew, as her husband, Barry Morphew, has been arrested on first-degree murder charges. The Chaffee County Sheriff, John Speasy, did not disclose much information about the nature of the case, such as what information over this past year led to the arrest of Barry Morphew. Search teams still have not located Suzanne or given us any information. They've narrowed their search for her body. The sheriff did say that law enforcement has been collecting evidence and building their case over the past year leading up to this arrest.
In early April, the extensive work completed by our investigative team was presented to the 11th Judicial District Attorney's Office. In that multiple-hour presentation, we outlined all of the information and evidence we have taken in over the past 12 months.
Now we can confirm that Barry Morphew was arrested on Wednesday in Poncha Springs, which is near Salida, where he's being held at the Chaffee County Detention Center. His first court appearance is set for Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Reporting in Chaffee County, Sloan Dickey, Court TV.
All right, let's bring in our special guests, a couple guys who have taken a really in-depth look at this and know more than anyone about it. Retired police commander, host of Profiling Evil, and the global director of Emergency Communications and Fraud at Esri. Mike King is with us. Mike is also the author of Deceived, an investigation memoir of the Zion Society cult. Also with us tonight in Salida, Colorado, host of The Interview Room and Profiling Evil, former homicide detective and director of law enforcement relationships at the Cold Case Foundation, Chris McDonough. Guys, thanks so much for coming on tonight. It's a big day. First, Chris, let me start with you. You're out in Salida. Your reaction to today's developments, the arrest of Barry Morphew.
Wow, Vinny, big day is an understatement, right? I mean, this investigation's been going on close to a year now. I got here last night, and quite frankly, I drove past his house. His windows, all his windows were open, as if he was, doing a counter surveillance of some sort. And I just had the sense that, things were going to go pretty quickly here. And sure enough, 09:15 this morning, from his home, heading into Salida, they took him down on the road, and he's in custody and he's charged with her death.
Mike King, your initial reaction here tonight as we sit, it's almost been a year to the day. I mean, we're talking about Mother's Day last year, and now finally an arrest.
Well, what a bittersweet moment for the Mormon family, and my heart goes out to them. I also think of those two daughters, and I think, holy cow, their heads must be spinning right now, and I wonder if, in fact, he's guilty of this at some point. If Barry's not sitting in a jail cell right now, thinking, "What have I done?"
Yeah, let's take a listen to the county sheriff who spoke today. And they're not giving out a lot of information, but we're getting bits and pieces.
The question is if we'd been searching for her and we hadn't found her, and if there's any indication that she wasn't alive today, is that correct? Well, we believe that she's not alive. We've filed first-degree murder charges, or we're in the process of filing first-degree murder charges. So our belief is that Suzanne is not alive at this time.
All right. Hey, Chris, why do we think that the sheriff's come to that conclusion? Is it just lack of any sort of proof of life anywhere, whether she's been spotted or heard from? What are your thoughts?
Vinny, I think being here on the ground, what I'm sensing is this is still a very fluid, active investigation. I know they're still doing some searches. They're contacting people, even as I sit here with you this evening. And it was an interesting statement that the sheriff made. He says, her no body found. And he didn't say if something else had been found. We don't know that yet, but it certainly is enough to start thinking about, are there other players here? or are they waiting for additional evidence to come back from the lab, DNA, et cetera, to verify additional information?
Yeah, Mike, from the beginning, I didn't really understand the timeline and where everyone was. Because I guess we got some information from the now suspect slash defendant, Barry Morphew, trying to set that up. But what do we know about where she was?
Well, I think a couple of things. We didn't get an affidavit shared today, which kind of is frustrating, but I guess I understand it. But from what we've learned over the months and from testimony of different people who were involved with Barry, it appears that about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning on Mother's Day, he reports that he last sees Suzanne laying in bed, and he heads off to Denver into the Broomfield area. We know that direction and those timelines are pretty solid because of testimony of other witnesses associated with Barry. So then we have to look at the timeline fast forward to the afternoon when his kids call him and say, "Hey, we haven't been able to raise up mom. Can you get a hold of her for us?" And he tries. And this is what gets interesting to me is he then calls the neighbor and asks the neighbor to go over. The neighbor doesn't find anything, and suddenly he comes up with the idea, "Oh, we'll go and check for her bicycle." And of course, the neighbor then goes and checks and says, "No, the bicycle's not there." And then that really ramps up and gets the police to do that initial response. And they should really be commended, Vinny, for the way in which they responded. They got on it pretty quick, which sometimes doesn't happen on missing persons cases.
So, Chris, for us, that area, there aren't like neighbors, right? It's not like a regular neighborhood. This is a very, it's a beautiful home. It's a beautiful part of the country, but it's not like someone would just randomly be walking down the street in this area, would they?
Yeah, no, exactly. And in fact, it's even more isolated as you start to go down the road where the house actually is and where she was reported, last seen. And, as to dovetail, with Mike, we would call that a contact site, right? If this was a stranger abduction, that piece of the puzzle would have been crucial in the investigation. And, early on, Mike and I, looked at each other and said, wow, taking a look at all the evidence that was initially available, kind of looking into that from a behavioral analysis aspect, we couldn't leave the house. And so at that point, we really started to focus on that geographic region. And to your point, for a total stranger to go down that road, boy, he was really placing himself in a big risk situation of getting captured.
Yeah, that's the part. It did make sense to me that it could be some stranger abduction in that area. That didn't make sense, and apparently doesn't make sense to investigators either. Here's Linda Stanley. She's the DA out there.
For those that didn't hear the question, he said, "We're not releasing the affidavit and we don't have a body, so how can I convince the public that we have a strong case?" That's my job. I'm the one that considers how strong my case is before I bring charges, and I wouldn't bring charges unless I was confident.
Okay, she's confident. Mike, do you think how do you think they're putting this together? Do you think there's a possibility they found some forensic evidence? Is it a digital evidence? Yeah. Eyewitness? Which direction do you think is leading investigators to the conclusion?
Yeah, I think a common sense only tells us, and I put your prosecutor hat back on, Vinny. You don't want to go in with one form of evidence. So I am confident they have physical evidence, they have forensic evidence. They probably have some eyewitness testimony, whether it's actually people who were there and participating or at least know of different pieces of evidence that tie to that. They don't really have confession that we're aware of, but they may have omissions in confession. And it's really the totality, isn't it, that makes these circumstantial cases so incredibly strong and frankly, much stronger than just simply someone who says, "I saw it happen."
Chris, do you think this is a case where they'll somehow be able to recover her, or is there just so much land out there and so many potential places where she could be that it may be virtually impossible?
At this point, the way I'm seeing, being here on the ground, the way I'm seeing these investigators work, and to dovetail into Mike, these guys have done a fantastic job here. This is still fluid, Vinny, and I think we may hear additional information, but I do know also that he lawyered up, so he hasn't given a statement, so I don't think he's going to help.
Yeah. Mike, we talked a little bit about the daughters. Do we know where they were that day, how old they are, and their whole stance here as this investigation has continued?
Yeah, what we've learned over time and from the beginning was that they were returning from a church-sponsored or a community-sponsored camp. They made those calls as they were returning on Mother's Day to their father, saying we couldn't get through.
And Chris, do you think it's a coincidence that it's, we're getting close to the Mother's Day weekend and now the announcement, or do you think it's just purposefully done because, okay, we've done all this investigation that we can do, now is the time to bring the charges?
Yeah, I don't think it was a coincidence. I know that the DA, Linda, who's an absolute, great DA, she was presented this case, mid-April. She discovered that appeared to be probable cause to, go get him. But one interesting thing, Vinny, so last night when I was in his neighborhood, there is a large trailer in front of his house. And so I think he was getting ready to make a move. And so my sense is, being, a former LE, they had to take him down and get him before he started to, get out of the state.
Yeah. One final question: his mugshot. Anything you guys notice about the mugshot that struck you?
Well, yeah, I'll take a stab at it at first. I mean, he's lost a lot of weight. He looks like he's weather worn. I think any human being would be weather worn if they lost their spouse. But if you add on top of that the possibility that you're responsible for that, that's going to age you really quickly.
Chris, I'll give you the final word on his mugshot tonight.
Vinny, I did a piece on understanding Barry Morphew, and you'll notice he's in camo. This guy's a hunter through and through, and I just, it's a great day for the, for the Mormon family, as Mike said, and God bless them.
All right,
It's been tough.
Chris McDonough, Mike King, Profiling Evil, in-depth coverage of this story from the beginning, and here tonight.